Hello everybody, and welcome to History Bite number 87, dated October 21st, 2020. I'm Walter, your mobile historian and blue-collar scholar. This History Bite is entitled Robert Bork and the Supreme Court of the United States. For those of you who do not know who Robert Bork was, Judge Robert Bork was a prominent conservative American legal scholar, law professor, government attorney, federal judge, and author. He is best remembered for his failed nomination to the U.S. Supreme Court by President Ronald Reagan in 1987. He subscribed to the constitutional interpretive philosophy known as originalism, which mandates that the Constitution be interpreted according to the original intent of its framers. As such, he was a rigid adherent to the concept of judicial restraint. Many of Judge Bork's works outright criticized what he perceived as an out-of-control and activist federal judiciary that had greatly strayed away from the principles of original intent. In essence, the federal judiciary had become activist, interpreting and applying the law according to how they wanted it to be conveyed, rather than how it was intended to be conveyed. And let's face it, Judge Bork's works scared the left out of its mind, and he came under attack for it a great deal well before he was nominated to the U.S. Supreme Court. It just reached its pinnacle when he was nominated to the High Court. For sure, the Democratic-led Senate, the left-wing media, and Hollywood essentially waged war against Bork's nomination to the U.S. Supreme Court, and it was ultimately defeated by a vote of 58 to 42. Nevertheless, even after that defeat, Judge Bork, although resigning from the Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia 2 years later, remained a very prominent and respected legal scholar, writing several books well before his death in 2012. All right? So I say that he would have made a phenomenal Supreme Court justice. His views, for sure, were quite conservative, and I myself don't agree with all of them, but a great many of them made a great deal of sense, especially with respect to judicial restraint. Judge Bork was an exceptionally brilliant legal scholar who would have only added, to the intellectual depth that the Supreme Court already had. And contrary to what many might think, he is not likely to have led the court to reverse a great deal of its progressive decisions. After all, his version of originalism was not yet in vogue with the times. Judge Bork would have undoubtedly had to compromise many of these positions in order to hold majorities, if he was assigned the majority opinion in a case, And another thing is that he wouldn't have served for very long even if he was confirmed. Judge Bork was 60 at the time of his nomination in July of 1987, and in all likelihood would have stepped down probably by around the second Bush administration, So between the years of 2005 and 2007 at the latest, After 2004, his health began to somewhat fail, and in all likelihood, that's when he would have left the court. So he would have been replaced, by another conservative member of the court. Things would have continued as they were. Undoubtedly, he was considerably more conservative than Anthony Kennedy was, who ultimately got the seat that Bork was nominated for originally. But all in all, Judge Bork, in spite of sometimes his reactionary conservatism, would have been an excellent justice. After all, he had been a law professor. He spent the vast majority, of his time in academia. He taught well before he went into government service and became a judge, and went back into teaching after he left the Court of Appeals. So with that said, he was a phenomenally brilliant scholar, and scholars always add to the intellectual prestige of the court. Law professors make exceptional Supreme Court justices, whether liberal or conservative. Another A wonderful justice that comes to mind was Felix Frankfurter, who taught at Harvard Law, okay? As well as Justice Stephen Breyer, okay? Which is why, this is why I say that in spite of his conservative positions, which some of you may not agree with, like I said, I don't agree with them all, but some of them I do, because of that, and his, the depth of his intellect, Judge Robert Bork of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia would have made a phenomenal U.S. Supreme Court justice had he been confirmed in 1987, all right? A tribute to you, Judge Bork. Thank you for your service, sir. Any questions or controversies, you can leave them down below. I know some of you, quite a bit of you, in fact, may not agree with me on this history bite, but that's all right. Let's talk about it. Take care, stay safe out there, and I'll talk to you at the next one. Peace.